Welcome back to another episode of Over the Glass. I am your host, Jey.
Your co-host Ness. I'm sorry, that threw me off.
And today, I just want to bring attention to this super cute name for this new team out in Georgia in the Federal Prospects Hockey League. The Athens Professional Hockey is proud to announce the name of their new team called the Lobsters, which is apparently inspired by the legendary band, the B-52s. They had about over 8,000 participants in the voting for the name, and then also got like huge praise from the band itself. And I think it's adorable that, the whole like community aspect of it. And I don't know if like the logo that's behind this image that I'm looking at is like the official one, but it does say in the description that they are wanting to go with a logo that's like a lobster playing a guitar that like the one of the end points looks like a hockey stick.
Yeah, it's super cute. I saw I don't know if it was a mock-up or what, but it crossed my feed this week, and it's a cute logo, like the little lobster with the sunglasses. I'd buy merch for that. I won't even follow the team. I'll just buy the merch.
It is super adorable. So I just wanted to bring awareness to that because it popped up on my feed earlier this week, and I didn't actually know about the B-52s thing until I was pulling up some information for the podcast today. But just like the mock-up or the official logo in itself, I was just like, that's cool. Whatever inspired that, I don't care. But the fact that it is related to a band that, it's like it has the community tie-in with it, I think it makes it extra special.
Yeah. Always love that. Cute.
And this is a little outdated, but I wanted to bring it up. Well, I guess it's not that outdated. They did advance only recently. The Oilers only recently advanced into the conference finals. But if you were not watching that game, there were several moments where the camera crew panned over to where the Celebrinis were sitting. And I think it was like, I can't recall I remember now. The Canucks were trying to pull a Rangers and come back in the third. And so they were trying to rally their team to, get the time going, whatever. And you see the Celebrinis and like in the crowd saying, "Go Canucks, go Canucks, go." And I started seeing all these tweets. I don't know how this stuff ends up on my feed. But I pulled up this one particular one just as an example. It says, Canucks need to use that clip of Macklin Celebrini chanting, "Go Canucks, go," every time they play his future team. So I'm just like, or we could play that when we beat you. Like, not that it's likely to happen for a couple of years, but people I don't know how serious they are, but I just saw a lot of people, and by people, I think mostly Canucks fans, that were just like, how do we get Celebrini on our team? Like, they just want that whole pride part of like players who are passionate about the team to be on their team. And, and then I was taking offense to it and be like, can you just step off? No,
let us have nice things.
Smack your hand. Get away from him. So this is his final year rooting for you.
I made a tweet when they were showing those. I saw Drew posted something, and around the same time I did too, because they kept showing Macklin cheering for the Canucks. And I was like, it's really nice of ESPN to show, to record Celebrini rooting for the Canucks like one last time, for the memories. Meanwhile, Drew was like, yeah, look at him rooting for the Canucks. You go. And I'm like, it's not going to last for too much longer.
No, he's gonna be in teal soon enough. I think
Sharks fan.
Yeah, I think in
life.
like a month, he's gonna be
I'm
wearing
excited.
teal. He's gonna be wearing teal. So, live it up as best as you can, Canucks. You're not getting you already have a Celebrini. So
sorry it's not Macklin, but you have a Celebrini. You have a Pedersen. You have a Hughes. Like, stop being greedy. We need someone too.
I mean, maybe we could talk trades, but it's not going to be fair.
It's
not going to be fair on my part. How badly do you want the hometown kid on your team? That's the price you'll pay to get him. But He's not for sale. Sorry.
It's okay.
So in other news, this didn't take very long. Sheldon Keefe is the new head coach of the New Jersey Devils. One of my first thoughts...
I didn't see this coming.
I'm not entirely surprised. I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about being a head coach, but like, bro went through a journey in his time with the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I'd imagine, you kind of just want to like get on to your next big thing, whatever. Don't want to take too much time away unless you really have to, but there's a lot of teams out there that need a head coach, the Sharks included, and so I guess I'm not entirely surprised that the Devils scooped him up. I mean, he's been touted, of having like a really good success during the regular season, and that could probably really help out the Devils, who did not make the playoffs for this season. I saw some folks talking about how, I mean, he doesn't, outside of being a Calder Cup winner, I mean, his run with the Leafs, like, he doesn't have any, like, his resume doesn't show NHL playoff success, like, outside of making it into playoffs and that, one season where he got them to the second round. So like, people, I don't know, like, this is just me like observing the discourse on Twitter, but I think this is a good move for the Devils, like, and I mean, they have the opportunity to do like the funniest thing ever next season. If I'm rooting for Team Chaos here, like, it would be funny.
We always root for Team Chaos. No, these stats are impressive. The Devils posted a graphic of what he accomplished in Toronto during his tenure. Besides his Calder Cup championship, he led Toronto to 5 consecutive postseason appearances, which is a big deal over there. Second fastest coach in NHL history to 200 career wins. That seems impressive to me. And then 3 straight 100-point seasons. Come on, like, you can't be mad at that. Not a lot of coaches can get that result. As Sharks fans, we know. I think this is going to be good for the Devils. He seems, well, it'll be different because he'll have a different team with him probably, but different players. I think this will be good for them for sure. Speaking of teams that need head coaches, have there been any names floating around that have piqued your interest for the Sharks to possibly bring over?
Honestly, I've been seeing people talking about, oh, so-and-so got permission to talk to, like, whoever. Like, I I kind of feel the same way that I felt last season when we were talking about like GMs and like coaches. Like I'm kind of in the mindset where I just want to kind of wait for it to happen, and instead of, oh my god, they like had the opportunity to talk to so and so, let's like analyze all that. I don't know if I necessarily care about that, but I have been seeing names and I'm like, oh, interesting. Like they were talking about like, oh, like Marco Sturm got, they have permission to talk to him, and I'm like, okay, well, Sharks ties, I'm sure that'd be really great. XYZ, he's had, a variety of success at various levels for hockey. Like, I just don't, for me personally, I don't know. I guess I don't have too much interest because I don't really know what's gonna work for the Sharks, because I felt like Quinn was gonna work out because he's coming from like a college hockey background. He's used to working with like young folks, and but then we heard like the stuff that like Rangers fans didn't really like his time out there. Like I thought he was fine here, but then we let him go, which largely probably contributed to the fact that we had a really terrible season. So if we had him for 2 years and then we let him go, like,
don't get attached to the next guy.
Just tell me who it's gonna be. Tell me their resume, and I'll be like, fine, cool, whatever. What's our roster look like? Let's get the show on the road.
Yeah. Like, I obviously don't know how to run a hockey front office or anything, but one thing that kind of, I don't know if surprise is the right word, but like something I wasn't expecting was that the Sharks gave permission for another team to interview Warsofsky, because I thought that maybe he could have been a candidate to come up to be a head coach. Remember, like when we first started the pod, we talked about it, and we really, well, I was a big fan, and I really wanted the Sharks to hire him because it would have been like new coach, new ideas, new vibes, whatever. He had just won. I forgot what team he coached. Was it? I think his team won the Calder that year or something. I don't know. It would have been like a fresh new perspective for a new team that's struggling, right? I feel like the Sharks are going to be in a better place coming next season. It would make sense to bring him up to give him that opportunity, but also maybe they don't think he's quite ready yet, and maybe he wants to find something different. Like maybe he's not happy here with the 2 years he spent. Who knows? I don't think I have seen any names that have stuck out to me, other than like I've only seen Marco Sturm, who's currently coaching the Reign, I believe, in LA. Right?
I don't know off the top of my head.
I think he's working for LA somewhere.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Which, haven't been keeping up with his, but I mean, if he's coaching an AHL team, I'm sure he's pretty good too. I think I wouldn't mind if Ward's name came up at some point. Joel Ward, because he's currently coaching the Silver Knights. That'd be fun. Bring him back over
I thought
here.
he was you're probably right. I thought wasn't there like a brief moment when he came up with the big club, but there was something to do with like there.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Wait, so is that permanent?
No, I don't think so. That's why I paused for a minute. I was like, wait, did he? I thought he had moved up, but then I think I got things mixed up because there was like a period in time where they had to bring up the emergency basis or something like that.
Right.
Right. But yeah, like I just going briefly back to like the Devils talk with like Sheldon, Keefe, and whatever. Just like scrolling through the discourse on Twitter, different like people's thoughts about like Sheldon Keefe and the Devils, and like success for the different franchises, and like including the Leafs. Like we know that Craig Berube got picked up to be the new head coach of the Leafs and whatever. And like at the end of the day, like I just think that like really all these teams, they just needed like, a new voice, as they say, like in the locker room, like a new direction. Because I felt like letting go of David Quinn at the end of the day, like it had to have been the season. It had to have been the record, because I just like in 2 seasons, like you're expecting this guy to like, command the room and to take a team that's like not built for success, and you're like, you somehow be successful. And I just feel like that's a big ask of a head coaching staff, that like it seemed a little unfair that only 2 seasons into like a massive rebuild that you let a head coach go. So like, but going back to what I was trying to get at with like Craig Berube, like, like the Leafs, we saw the writing on the wall. I think they had done all these little things before they decided, okay, Sheldon Keefe needs to go, because we just have to change something, right? The Leafs hiring Craig Berube is that, with all this talk about like, this whole season, like we had a massive firing frenzy of head coaches. And like I've already talked about, like how it seemed a little unfair that we let Quinn go after only 2 seasons. At the end of the day, it must have come down to the record, like it, and less about him, more just like, yeah, we just have to make a move, because like the Leafs let go of Sheldon Keefe after like what, 5 seasons. But when you look at Craig Berube, it's like his record is like, it's not that much different. He in his first season with the Flyers, they lost in the first round, and then they missed the playoffs. And then when he went from assistant coach to interim head coach for the Blues. Wait, am I getting like the timeline wrong? Let me check. So he was, okay, the head coach of the Chicago Wolves in 2016, and then became the assistant head coach in 2017 okay. So the year after he was like the assistant head coach, then he became, in November of 2018, when they fired Mike Yeo, then he became the head coach of the Blues. And from there, like he had that crazy run to win the cup in his first season as the head coach. So the season after that, lost in the first round against the Canucks. The season following that, lost in the first round against the Avs. And then that following season, lost in the second round against the Avs, missed the playoffs the following season, and then was fired. So really, if we're just looking at stats alone, it's not that much different than Sheldon Keefe. The only difference is he had the one run. He saw all the sights of the Stanley Cup run. One season, got the cup. But I guess if that's your reasoning to like, we needed someone with more experience, sure, he has more experience. But, that's kind of why I'm like, whoever we get, even if we were to, to promote, what's his bucket? Your favorite assistant.
Warsofsky.
Yeah, if we were to promote him, I'd be like, sure, cool, let's go with it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, or if we got someone who's like got a million years of like NHL head coaching experience, fine.
A million years.
I just, best of luck to the Leafs, to the Devils. We're all just trying to figure it out at the end of the day, trying to put together the best, whatever it is to get any of our teams into the cup finals. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, there's no real way to decide or pick. What are words? I don't know what I would want in a head coach right now for the Sharks. They have so many problems. There's so many things that you can like pinpoint and like focus on, but they just have a laundry list of things that they need to improve on anyway. So if there is a coach that can address every single thing, amazing. I'll be so happy for that. But what are the chances? It is what it is.
All right. So what is this thing that from Sam?
So Frank Saravelli, we complain about this all the time on the pod. Might as well just keep going. Why not? But this guy likes to talk out of his ass a lot. I don't know if this was a podcast that he was on, sharing his
I think
thoughts
he did.
on
I think he does have a podcast. I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
the Daily Face Off. Is that his podcast? Anyway,
I know he's part of the Daily Face Off like platform.
okay, so he was on that platform speaking his thoughts. And I guess he addressed the comments regarding Elias Pettersson and his injuries. And he's just saying how, in the NHL, if there's a injured player, they don't usually let them, in his words, take bullets or put them out there for no reason or like play through injuries type comments. And so Sam his quote tweeted this and said, "Do you know how unserious you have to be to say the NHL doesn't let players play hurt with a straight face?" Like, isn't every playoffs, every game, media, journalists, like fans are saying like, "Oh, this guy is so tough. He's playing through such and such injury. Oh, like why can't he play with like a broken toe when this guy has played with a broken face?" Like they're always glorifying the injuries, saying you're not a real man if you can't play through so much pain. It's such an odd comment to make, and I think he just has, I don't know, maybe he's a narcissist, maybe he has a god complex, he just doesn't like to be wrong, he just likes to talk. Who knows? It's just such an odd thing.
I did find it initially shocking, but not out of the ordinary when Pedersen was asked that, like, he was on their like post season whatever panel thing that they did, and he talked about how like his knee was like all messed up for since January. And like we know, like during that run when Jumbo Joe was pretty much, his knee was floating, like they just had like duct tape around his leg to keep it together and whatever. And it's like, it in itself, I think it's like like the thought of it is funny because it's ridiculous. Like, why would you do that? But it's like they do this stuff and it shouldn't be okay, but we know what happens. Like every team seems to do it. And I was like, when I saw that clip from Pedersen talking about his knee and it had been like fucked up since like January, I was trying to think about like the other sports and stuff that I follow, like, with like Jung Hoo Lee's like out for the entire Giants season because he messed up his he's got like a tear or something, like he dislocated his shoulder, so now he's out for the whole season. And I just like think about that, where I'm just like, but like, didn't like fucking Jack Hughes have something like with his shoulder, and you could tell that he really wasn't like 100%, but like the Devils were trying to make the playoffs basically like all season. They were like up and down and whatever, and then like now he's like, now he has to have his surgery, now he's going to be like going through rehab like all of the off season. Like, I just don't see how that makes any sense in hockey. Like, I don't see how, like, especially with like Pedersen, it's like you guys are trying to make the postseason. And one of my friends said that like they were never in a position where it was necessarily out of like that, like, oh, it's getting shaky, we need Pedersen here. Like, they were always in the conversation. So like, not to say that with the Devils maybe needing to fight a little more for like, oh, it justifies like keeping Jack like in the mix. Like, neither one of these situations are justified. It just boggles my mind that I see in like other sports where, like the example I just gave, they're like, nope, that's not gonna fly. He can't play like 100 games for like the rest of the season. Like, that needs to stop here. Like, the Giants are, maybe they don't make the playoffs because of that, but the dude's fucking shoulder is like dislocated and is fucked up.
Yeah.
He can't play. But like, I understand to an extent when, like, let's say hypothetically you're dealing with some bumps and bruises. Like, at the end of the day, yeah, during the playoffs, if you're dealing with bumps and bruises, like, I get that they're not going to be like, no, you got to go sit on that bench. Like, nope, you're damaged goods, whatever. I get that you have to like push the envelope a little more when you get into the playoffs. But in the situation of like Pettersson, like, that knee was not going to get any better.
Yeah.
Without rest. If he was in the lineup, I imagine the rest of the way. And like, I remember seeing, like, I didn't follow that series, but I remember seeing talks about like, oh, Pettersson's, like, I didn't see him on the score sheet, and him being like, what, he's like making like 11 point whatever, like, he's making a shit ton of money. So, we know that the players that make a ton of money, there's a lot of scrutiny for them to produce and blah, 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 blah. But it's like, but if bro was already dealing with a knee injury since January, like, how is he? Obviously, he's going to decline. Like, he's only human. Like, they're probably shooting him up with like painkillers and things like that. But it's like, but if your knee, whatever it is not functioning properly, how do you expect this guy who's making a shit ton of money to do his job?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if he was like necessarily getting like a lot of like I can imagine there's just some fans that will just never be happy, right? That have no empathy. It's like, whatever, like, you make a ton of money, I don't give a shit. It's like, and it's like, I don't even really like trust sometimes when they're just like, oh, well, they have like doctors and professionals on the team. And it's like, yeah, but you don't, one, the doctors are employed by the team. So they're not exactly like
unbiased.
Yeah, like, you think, like, I don't know, I think it's a slippery slope. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't care that they have doctors on these teams. The doctors are gonna like give them their recommendation, but then they're gonna have influence from whoever hired them. And then people, like, I'm sure if you tell McDavid stop playing, he's gonna be like, fuck you, I'm playing. And what are you gonna do? That's the face of your franchise, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, none of this stuff of like, oh, well, they've got professionals telling them what like is okay or not okay. Like, they're not biased. And at the end of this entire franchise, every team wants to win. But it just blows my mind that like he'd been dealing with it since January. Like, how was he going to help you out if you hypothetically made it to the finals? And this is not like a rant to the Canucks. This is like for every team. Like, if you have a player that's got a limb that stops doing what it needs to do like 6 months before like the big show, or if you're attempting to make the big show, and you're like, well, he needs to step up. How?
Like, how can he step without a leg?
I just think like that is, I don't know, and that's why I'm kind of like saying, like, why I'm bringing up like the other sports is like, do I not follow it close enough to to a certain extent every sport does it, but it just seems like hockey does it to an astronomical level where they expect their players to just like bite down hard, get through it, blah blah blah.
Yeah. Yes. Couple points. I'm sure we've talked about this in the previous episode, but the whole warrior mentality that hockey has we know came from like when hockey first started, like the NHL, I think specifically. I think it was during like the one of the world wars. I don't know. I'm not that great at this history stuff, but like it was if you couldn't play you in the lineup for that night, you had more of a chance of being replaced, and the odds of you getting back on the team were very slim, right? And so that's kind of how the whole playing through injuries thing came about into this league, and why it's still present to this day. But you make a good point about other sports protecting their assets in these players and pulling them out when they have these major injuries. And I also have to wonder why the NHL doesn't take these things as seriously, because like with what's his name, Jung-hoo
Jung-hoo
Lee,
Lee? Yeah.
Jung-hoo Lee, okay, messed up his shoulder, arm is practically dangling. He can't play with that. He can't play baseball with like a dangling arm, right? Like,
But why not, Nessa? Why not?
Scotch tape it together. Like, this guy signed a massive deal over the offseason to acquire him. The Giants are going to have to look at the future, not just in this instant. Like, yes, it's his first season playing on this team. Everyone is excited for him to play and like bring new fans or whatever. You know, they were really playing up the whole Korean thing as well. You know, Korean player, get more Korean fans for the fan base. Now he's not playing. You can't really market him that way anymore. But he's still on the team. He's going to be here for a long time because of that contract that he signed, right? Why doesn't the NHL see things the same way? Like, these guys are young. Yes, their bodies can endure more. They bounce back quicker when they're young, but in the long run, like, you keep putting them through all these things, they're going to have to retire early. What if they can't even finish up those contracts, or they decline and then people are pissed off? Like, like, it's just, it doesn't make logical sense why you're putting these players through these. My thoughts are running faster than my mouth. It just doesn't make sense. It does. Someone fix it.
Yeah, it's just mind-boggling. Just you know, we know that. Yeah, sure. Like, if you need your star players to come out and to do their job, and score the goals and whatever you paid them to do and whatever, and when they go down, like, it does take a toll on the team. But if like if your franchise doesn't have depth, if like your other players can't step up, and like, I'm not saying that, like, well, no, you should totally have a backup plan to fill in the hole, and like, whatever, however many goals like McDavid would have scored, well, you should have gotten other players to fill in the hole. Like, it's gonna be hard. But the team that is deepest and can rise above, all these obstacles, those teams are going to be the ones that will get you all the way to the cup. But if you don't have that, and you're like, oh shit, well, if we let you sit, then we're fucked. So no, you're just going to have to get back out there. Like, nope, sorry, none of these guys behind you can help you. Like, it's like, then you didn't deserve to win.
That sounds like the Oilers.
I guess we'll see what happens, because last game, the big name dudes did not show up on the score sheet, let me just say. So, and they're the ones that have been kind of driving the bus throughout this playoff. So, yeah, I just don't get it, and yeah, I don't know.
In happier news, our friends over at Double Hockey Stix just dropped their first, I don't know how many of these are going to have, but they put out their first Pride drop this past week. rainbow hockey merch for all those rainbow hockey fans out there. Just want to promote them. Really good dudes. Well, one person, I think. How many of them are there? Is it just? Well, we're just promoting some friends here. If you want some Pride merch that isn't, what do we call it? Rainbow capitalism. Small business, run by
Giving
queers.
back will legit be giving back to the community.
Yes. We're all for it. Support. Go buy. I'm waiting to see what else that they drop over there, so I haven't bought anything yet. Because I have to see. Because if I buy something I like and then they drop something else and then I see something else I like, then it's going to be a problem, you know? I don't need that much clothes.
I'm kind of tempted by the slippers, but I haven't decided whose name I would have across the slippers.
Whose name? That's just a funny thing to me. Like, you're just wearing someone's name on your feet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's silly. Probably Eklund.
Dude, Zetterlund, I don't know if you saw earlier, but Sweden won the bronze, and there's this adorable picture of Zetterlund just like goofing it up in the camera. Yeah. I can see why him and Eklund get along.
Yeah. Who posted? Was it Krona that posted something on Instagram?
Yeah.
This is just married. Love it. I love this. This team is the younger guys are fun. A bit more carefree than the older dudes. That's
okay. See, I think it's gonna be a little bit of a short one today. I had like the hardest time catching games this week.
Yeah.
Even when dude sitting next to me at the soccer game was streaming the game on his phone. I only briefly caught it during halftime. I kind of like peeked over to look at his phone. But yeah, I like there was this. Oh, I did want to know. I did want to give like a special shout out to our Barkley Goodrow, still following along on his journey because he's one of the assistant captains on the Rangers. And I did see that I think like Rangers fans have been a little unhappy with him this season for some reason. I don't know. But he has been showing up in the playoffs. He had the game OT winning goal Friday, and then I saw that today for the game 3, he scored another goal. So we know how much Barkley Goodrow can step up in the playoffs.
Yes, we do. I need to remind everyone that he was undrafted. He wasn't even drafted. He's a hardworking dude. So just because he's not producing doesn't mean he's not working hard out there. So are we rooting for a Dallas Florida finals? Or sorry, not you. You're Rangers. Dallas Rangers. Sorry. I forgot about your Rangers. A Rangers and New York versus Texas in the finals would be interesting. Like really interesting for many different reasons. But then also like Florida versus Texas would be interesting because like when has a South team played a South team in the finals before? South team, Southern, whatever words.
All right, that's it for us this week. As always, I'm your host Jey,
and I'm Ness. Catch us next week.
Bye. Maybe.